what does it really mean to be attractive? And what can you do to make yourself more attractive?
And it's not all about physical looks.
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us again on Second Act TV. Welcoming back Robert Manni, the host of Guys Guy Radio and TV and the author of The Guys Guide to Love. Robert, thanks for being here again today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Silke.
Robert, what I want to talk with you about today is what does it really mean to be attractive? And here's what I mean by that. So many people are just sick and tired of online dating. And I hear over and over and over again, we want to meet in person. I want to meet in person. I'm never going online. Well, what does that mean, though? And how are people attractive? And what can you do to make yourself more attractive?
And it's not all about physical looks.
Exactly. That's the good thing, good or bad, when you meet IRL, is because you are being quote unquote judged or evaluated by other stuff. Mm-hmm. So what is that? How can you become really more attractive, make yourself more attractive? Those are the points. Number one, if you're a person that has the ability to stay calm under pressure. Now think about that. As the author writes here, losing your cool is ultimately a really unattractive thing. So what does it mean to remain calm under pressure?
Well, if you're just, to be fair, and if you're just, of course, it's important. You don't want somebody that has a meltdown over little things. And that's because that can become draining, and that may mean they have some emotional issues that they need to manage a little bit better, particularly if they're over 40, over 50. If they haven't gotten that down yet, that's a red flag. However, if you're just meeting somebody, you're really going to get into situations where you're testing if they're going to lose their cool or not. I think you've got to maybe go on a couple of dates and see them in action, really, before you can have an understanding or be able to qualify that about somebody else. Are they cool under pressure? You could see if they're nervous, but that's different than having a meltdown or like being nasty to people. Or I guess you could say if they're not kind to the waiter or something like that, if you're out, that's not really being cool under pressure necessarily, but it's a tricky one, I think, because it takes some time to develop that experience to be able to judge, and we do judge if somebody's cool under pressure or not. So when you're first meeting somebody, it's tough. Well, if you've known somebody and you're dating, if they have meltdowns all the time, that's not a good thing, of course.
What I thought of right away is it's funny because the times that we're in is all these political discussions that we're overhearing. And we won't get into what sides or anything like that, but that says so much about you, and that sort of reaction does translate into other stuff. So I thought about that. It's like, would I be attracted to someone that just is argumentative and think about that. Calm under pressure is important, I think. Here's a nicer one, I guess, is caring. Be a caring person, somebody who cares about others and causes, and that's really important. And that does go into, I suppose, a first date conversation.
I agree. I think being a kind person comes through energetically. You can get the feeling when you're around somebody if they seem like they have some joy within them, and they're giving and they're polite and they're fun and they're kind, and that's all that is caring. And you can see if somebody's caring. You can tell that pretty quickly, and that I think definitely makes somebody more attractive because Absolutely. That's from the heart. That's not physical looks. But you know what? If somebody is like that, I find that people who are kind, there's an attractiveness about that comes through energetically, and they might not have been gifted with everything, that we typically use as standards for beauty, but they're a beautiful soul, and that's really important too.
And you're right. And that comes across. And it just, there's really something to be said for, when somebody mm-hmm. opens their mouth, all of a sudden they become unattractive.
Right. As it happens with with physically attractive people, like, oh man, so cold, or like they have dead eyes or whatever, they're just not warm.
Yeah, think about that. Does that come across? Are you a caring person? And again, it's not something you can fake, but if this is what you are, my goodness, then use that to your advantage. Let that shine
Absolutely.
through. Here, be friendly but not invasive. Now, this really goes to like a first date or something, is when you first meet someone, yeah, be friendly, but leave the TMI at home.
Yeah, that's true. And that's a slippery slope because when we're just getting to know somebody, again, we have to kind of bifurcate this into just dating or you're already in a relationship. And if you're just getting to know somebody, too much information, if they start to like probe too deeply, it takes the fun out of the first date or even the second date. I mean, you want to get the information out there, but there's nice ways to do it. So being friendly, though, I think that's part of the caring or kindness because people who are friendly and they seem relaxed amongst other people, and not everybody else is going to be friendly back, but people who are friendly are much more comfortable to be around. And for me, if I'm going to be dating somebody, and particularly with the person I married, she's very friendly and in a nice way, but
Mhm.
knows how to have the field out there
Yeah.
so it doesn't invite invasiveness, and that's a really good thing. Keep it light, keep it fun, and be friendly. Why not? You're always going to deal with we're all going to deal with some difficult people. So
Mhm.
anything we can do to be nice and friendly makes things better. And I think that definitely flows out of somebody energetically. If they're a nice person, they're a caring person, they're a fun person, they're a friendly person, that makes them attractive.
This is really an important point, I think, to remember when you first meet someone. Keep it in check. Don't talk too much. Don't talk about yourself so much, which actually leads us to the second point here. But you have this under your control. So
Mm-hmm.
do pay attention to that. He says here, yeah, shush. Point four. Just, be quiet, listen to what people are saying. That even makes you more interesting than if you just sit there and talk about yourself.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And when it means being quiet doesn't mean just be quiet and sit there. It means really take in what the other person's saying and don't use a conversation to you're just waiting for it to get your point across. Hear them out. And you mentioned politics before. Nobody hears each other out anymore. It's like, oh, you're that or you're that, and then they have all the sound bites that go with it. It's just really has it's not good for our culture at whatsoever. So when you're meeting somebody new and you're sitting across the table from them, maybe having a drink or whatever, it's good to listen, but really process while you're listening as to what are they really saying? What can I pick up from this? And am I curious enough to have a question about what they're saying? Because I want to know more. Not that I want to do a gotcha or set them up, but I just really, I'm engaging. And I think the shush part really means be an active listener. So really listen to what
Mhm.
they have to say and don't dominate the conversation and don't think about here's what I'm waiting to say. Hear them out and then maybe have another question or something like that.
Yeah,
Make it easy on
that
the other person.
makes you so attractive if we could just remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody does like talking about themselves, but talk about yourself when you're being asked, a question. And then, keep it in check, especially when you first meet. It's just a huge, huge turn off. And when you can make somebody feel important by asking them questions about themselves, that's huge, huge, huge.
Just to follow up on that, I mean, it's
Mhm.
huge. I mean, how many people do you know, and we all do, who are always they're just into themselves and it's I, and they
Yeah,
really never ask you anything.
right.
How are you doing? Or this, they just go off. It's about them, and it's about them, and it's about them. That doesn't help with doesn't help them dating, and it doesn't help the other person because invariably they're going to get somebody who's going to get tired of them if they're
Hmm.
dating because it's exhausting just listening to
Yes.
somebody else just talk about themselves. And I think a little trigger for that, if you just how many times did they say I mean, we're all guilty of it to a certain extent, of course, but it can't be a one-way street. Love is a
Right.
two-way highway, right?
But absolutely. And the more that with every word that you go on, the less attractive you come. Again, this
Mm-hmm.
is where, when I hear this in the comments that, the everybody just wants somebody good looking and it's all about the pictures. Well, it's no longer all about the pictures. This is meeting in person is about a lot more than that. And this
Right.
to me is one of the most important points. Here's to your point, to expand on it, practice intentional communication. You explained intentional listening, but intentional communication. Now, I thought that was really interesting. I haven't heard it put that way. Really, the way you speak, how you enunciate words, how you project what you're communicating about, that draws people to you. You draw people in. It does make you more interesting, and it makes you feel and look confident.
Yeah, well, you have. I mean, unless you're Mick Jagger, of course, because he can say it the way he wants. It's always new. It's always fresh with him. But in my opinion, but anyhow, for all the rest of us, you want to be authentic, and that's the most important thing. Don't use this all the time. Try using this when you're dealing with dating, and come from there. And really, if you're really interested, ask open-ended questions. If you're curious, ask what you're curious about, and don't immediately judge. And I think it's important that we mentioned, Silke, that the attractiveness. There are physical attributes that are important, and I think it's about everybody's gifted with certain amount of looks, and with today's cosmetics and how you can get into the gym and proper diet, most people can get themselves in decent, presentable form in terms of that meets today's kind of quote unquote beauty standards. But it's more than that. It's really about, do you take the time to take care of yourself? And that's an attractive attribute also, not just the result, but also that you're interested in presenting the best version of you for the other person and for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just jumped ahead to the next point.
Oh, sorry.
Work. No, I'm kidding. You're so right, because that's the working on improving your body, and very, very capitalized mind, the mind move, because it does work together, that the two are closely linked, and that obviously, a physical, and he puts it here, an efficient physical vessel is always really attractive. And I like the way he puts it, because that is what our body is. It is a vessel, and it's so much more than just the features. It is what we project. So
yes, I agree with that. I mean, I think we covered that, but I would say, yeah, it's the beauty comes from the inside out, and how you manage that is important. So if you're a blabbermouth and you're not listening, and it's all about yourself, and you don't take care of yourself, that all comes through.
I think the confidence piece really, it comes out in all of them, but in this as well. The way, if you do feel good about the way you look, and you do that by working on yourself or improving yourself, so that is a big piece, but by no means is it the most important. Not when you're meeting in real life. It helps, but it's not the most important.
And the confidence is a slippery slope there, because people think, oh, I'm confident, but it's cocky. Confidence comes from within. If you know you've done the work, and you know you're authentic, and you're comfortable in your own skin, that's confidence. Confidence isn't being cocky and like, look at my car and look at my muscles, or whatever it is. You want it to be understated to the point where the other person can tell that this person is rooted to the ground, yet they can have their head in the clouds as necessary, and they just feel good about themselves, and they give off an aura of, this is somebody I want to be around. I enjoy being around them.
Yeah,
that's confidence.
Absolutely. And the last point here is be honest with yourself and others. And what he means by that here is present who you are. You mentioned authenticity before, but be who you are, be who you truly are. Don't try to imitate somebody. You can learn from others, but you never want to imitate. So be honest with yourself and with others.
And that comes across even to how you present yourself in terms of styling and all of that. If you just follow what they tell you to wear right now, that becomes okay. You did it, you get the check mark. But it's much more interesting when people have their own style, when they have their own style in what they wear, when they have their own style in how they communicate, and just they're interesting. You want to be interesting, and the most interesting. Somebody said that the most important work of art that you can do in life is living your life. Yes. That's the artwork. So how you live your life becomes a great canvas to present who you are to somebody else.
Oh, I love the way you put that. Love the way you put that. That's exactly right. Well, and I think that's what we wanted to really drive home, or I anyway, in this segment, is that, when we talk about meeting in real life, in IRL, it is so important to remember that, yes, it is the greatest way to meet, but you also have to be aware of things, especially if you haven't been out for a while. If you were in a long-term relationship, you're out for the first time, you getting your feet wet again. There's some simple things to be aware of that make you just 100% more attractive. So, is there anything else, Robert, that you want to say to sum this up?
Yeah, just a closing thought. We're all doing this, even with
Mm-hmm.
relationships, and eventually you've got to get to face, in person, in IRL. I like that. That's a new one for me. And so you might as well prepare for yourself. Everything should be in preparation for that, because eventually, when you do, hopefully, if you do get there, there's going to be an energetic exchange, as well as you're going to check the other person out physically. And now with Zoom and FaceTime and everything, you can get a sense as to what the person looks like before you physically meet them. But there's going to be that energetic exchange when you do meet in person. And that's incredibly important. So prepare yourself for that by being yourself.
Absolutely. Robert, thank you. As
Thank
usual,
you.
we will link to all of your information, to your radio show, to your book, to, well, your international radio show now on UK Health Radio. Gosh, you're just growing and growing by the minute. And thanks for joining us here
Thank you,
again.
Silke.
And we'll see you soon on Second Act TV.
Thank you.